What's up, Jeffrey Johnson? Give me one in the chat if you can hear me. Give me one in the chat if you can hear me. Appreciate you. Shout out to the president for joining me today. Just again, I'll shout out to Jeffrey Johnson. About to get started in a minute. You see it. The MIT AI Risk Repository. Let me go look that up. How's everybody doing tonight? You see it, MIT AI Risk Repository. I've seen that a couple times. Actually, I saw it in the SEC AI Plus. The SEC AI Plus is where I actually think the first time I've actually saw the MIT AI Risk Repository. So I kind of want to maybe dig into it a little deeper. Definitely add it to your NIST AI RMF. It's part of your risk management framework. So let's go and get started. So what is the MIT AI Risk Repository? Comprehensive living database. We're going to go out there and look at it. 1,700 plus AI risks compiled from a dozen frameworks. Purpose: create a single source of truth for AI risks, standardized on how risks are identified, classified, discussed, and audited. Think of it like this. This is what kind of moved me to it. It's supposed to be the MITRE attack for AI risk. That's a big statement there. I got much respect for MITRE. I got much respect for MITRE, so I thought that was interesting. It's a three-part structure. The AI risk, once again, 1,700 plus risks extracted from 70 plus frameworks. One of them was, of course, the NIST AI RMF framework. Academic plus policy sources included source citations, evidence quotes, page references, and map taxonomies. This is the raw data layer for AI risk analysis. How does risk happen? Once again, it's breaking down by causal life cycle. And again, at the end, we're going to actually go out there and look at the database. They got an Excel spreadsheet in a couple ways. Entity, AI caused and humans caused. The intent, intentional, malicious use, unintentional, bugs and misuse. Timing, pre-deployment, post-deployment. This is used for GRC, maps directly to the SDLC life cycle, system development life cycle, and once again, the RMF life cycle. So once again, I think it's adding an additional layer, once again, to your AI risk management. We're talking about 7 AI risk domains: critical, discrimination and toxicity, bias in AI decisions, harmful / toxic output, unequal performance across groups. Example, hiring AI favoring one demographic over another. So we know bias is, is kind of big in the AI realm, depending on where you got your data from. Privacy and security, data leakage, model inversion, system vulnerability. Example, LLM leaking training data. So you got to figure out how you're going to handle your PII and your company's proprietary data. 3, misinformation, false output, hallucinations, reality distortion. AI generates fake legal or medical info. 4, malicious actors, fraud, scams, cyber attacks, weaponization, AI generated phishing campaigns. Those are getting good. And oh, they shout out to Jose. Thanks for joining me. From my LinkedIn side, AI generated phishing campaigns. You used to get kind of read and say that looks fake or something misspelled or the tense is not right or the taste of the email is not right. Now with AI and for the phishing campaigns and real life phishing, it's those are getting super good now. So human computer interactions, over reliance on AI, loss of human judgment, manipulation, users trusting AI in critical decisions, right? So once again, when critical decisions are in there, do you want AI doing it? Do you want humans doing it? Do you want AI to take the first pass at it and the AI making the big determination at the end? But once again, that's kind of what you got to figure out as a person in or a company. Social, economic, and environmental, job displacements, power concentration, government failure, AI widening economic inequality. Shout out to UBI. So what happens when there's no jobs, right? Or all the jobs goes away? How are we going to handle it? And I think a few people are kind of looking forward to figure out from a government legislation aspect, what should that look like in the future? Once again, put in your questions or comments in the chat. Definitely going to get to them. AI system safety and failures, model errors, misalignment, lack of robustness, autonomous system failures. All domains and subdomains are defined in the repository. Key insight: risk are not just technical. AI risk is multidimensional, not just bugs or security flaws, but also social, economical, political, and human behavior are all included in AI. And I think that's kind of what makes AI kind of unique, especially going forward. Everybody's kind of ramping up to use AI. Standardization across frameworks. We talked about that before. Of course, my favorite NIST AI RMF is in there. We did a video on that. OWASP LLM top 10. Did a video on that. EU AI Act. I don't do a lot of EU. I might slab one in there. All different languages. MIT's repository. He's trying to unify the taxonomy of all those and trying to smooth those out. Let's see what my man MJ Finance got to say. Yeah, hype is getting too much. Facts. AI is everything, but I have not seen a huge innovation in AI. I think that's a good point. But especially with technology, it always comes out the hype. Then I think you're gonna start seeing some unique innovations after that. I think some of the programming houses are using AI to help them generate code and test it from that particular part. I think a lot of it's coming from the technology piece first in J Finance. Even though I think they say AI was taking a lot of junior jobs um, out in finance. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I think you are correct. I think the huge innovation is coming. Once again, I think it's coming more on the tech side. Chris Whitlock said Microsoft did say they were ripping Copilot out of several apps, or at least out by default. Yeah, I think a lot of people were pushing. Where I was one to pushing to cut it off by default, and I think a lot of people aren't seeing, like you said, seeing the benefits of AI, especially in Copilot. I think some of the particular AI companies, aka everybody's going crazy with cloud and cloud work and the lobster, right? So I think that's kind of where the innovation are coming, and a lot of people are pushing from it. I don't think it's coming from, like you said, the big companies like Microsoft. In an effort to put AI where it's helpful. No, that's true. I think they were just trying to push it, because they spent a lot of money on AI, so they got to try to get some of their investment back. Recipe Sora hype only lasts for. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's fun while it lasts. There's so many things coming on because Nvidia just what they put in micro cloud or micro something. So I think the artificial intelligence companies are hyping it up. I looked at a list of threats to, though, make our security number one career or retire. Make our security number one career or retire. I'm trying to get close to retiring. I think the right term PBO is micro slop. No, that's a good point. And I think people were overusing it for stuff it shouldn't be, and they really wasn't adding value to it, right? They were just generating stuff out and not really learning about it. They were just really spinning up and spouting stuff off. Again, put any questions, cybersecurity or tech or security or AI. Drop the link if anybody bored. Let's see what my man said. They find every application of AI is basically a database, an all-around bona fide librarian. I for an application, but once again, I think on the development side, if you look at especially the Cloud Code and ChatGPT, they're using it to generate code to pick up their velocity of releases. I think a lot of people are doing that. And I think people were just really trying to figure out where AI fits in. I think once again, I think a lot of people invested in it, so they're trying to squeeze it in where they're trying to figure it out. I think it was PricewaterhouseCoopers. Didn't they say they have 24,000 agents? So I think let me double check that while I'm talking. I think it was PricewaterhouseCoopers. PricewaterhouseCoopers agents. 24,000. It was some crazy number. Of course, PBO trying to do that on the fly, which is probably not. One of the big investments houses they were ramping up their agents to a crazy number. I'll find it probably at the end. Let's see what it looks like. Microsoft is getting ready to cut some features out of Copilot and Windows 11. Not sure. No, that's true. They were just pushing it too much. Yes, to walk through setting up AI. Well, yes, to walk through setting up AI and Bedrock so I can compete with ChatGPT. You got to remember, Bedrock is just a wrapper. I'll probably run ChatGPT inside Bedrock because Bedrock gives me all the guardrails so I can protect myself before anybody do injection or adversarial attacks. So I actually like Bedrock's guardrails, but you still have to pick LLM or FM in there to use. They have a couple of cheaper ones, like we talked about using a smaller one. AWS has a few smaller ones, and we could definitely get into that. Once again, standardized across. We're talking about AI MIT risk standardized. I dropped the link if anybody wants to come up. Once again, NIST AI RMF. That's kind of one I lean to. Most people know I'm a NIST guy, so OWASP LLM top 10. That's usually what I use for my integration piece, my technology piece, where the rubber meets the road. So I usually use the NIST RMF as my strategic, my policy and plan, and then I use for my rubber meets the road. I use my OWASP LLM top 10 for that. And then I probably start once again using the MIT repository, wrapping it around like I used MITRE ATT&CK. Maps to real GRC work. You can use it for shout out to Chris. Risk register, control mapping, threat modeling, AI system audits. And I think that's once again where you can start using the AI MIT risk. Once again, I will start off with the OWASP top 10 LLM. It's only 10, so that's something to get your mind wrapped around. You don't have to jump straight into the 1700 by the MIT, right? You got to work your way, build your way up. So I probably really start off with the OWASP top 10. Support AI governance, once again, used by policymakers, auditors, security engineers, and researchers. And AKA, we usually GRC in here. So that's kind of how we usually get started. Let's see what my man MJ Finance said again. Creating agents that perform repetitive tasks, but these agents cannot adapt to volatile. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. No, you're right, Brad. You got to have your retrieval information, or like you said, it not just volatile. It usually forgets to start hallucinating, right? So you definitely have to have your RAG system in there. I was actually looking at OSCAL for GRC, which is basically XML type documentation. So the agents need to be able to query something, like you said, and inside we call them a harness. Inside your test harness, like you said, something volatile or something nuanced in there. You got to tell the agents this is my context management of it, and this how it should look. So no, I definitely agree with you on the ride. And Chris, shout out to Chris Willock. He wanted me to do some bedrock and show it actually pulling off rag. Bedrock is AWS version of that. But no, you definitely gotta have rag in there. You're 100% correct. And I think I talked about that on some other videos. Let's see, get my man up in here. Shout out to Engineering Cannabis, man. Where you been at, man? Where
I
you
mean,
been?
I've been everywhere.
Man, what's going on? What's going on, man?
I'm the guy, the MJ Finance. You know, that's I got a lot of stuff.
Oh, man, come on. You got like 90 names. What's going on?
I got stuff to do. But yeah, it's the again the whole AI. The hype is getting way too much.
No, facts,
I
facts.
mean, we have everybody's in agents. Everybody. I'm looking at. I'm like, all of this is hype. You've never seen a lot of innovations in the area of AI. And when I say innovations, I'm not. I'm saying medical innovations
Mm-hmm,
where
mm-hmm.
or all these innovations that promise because right now we're using AI like a calculator. We're using it for anything and everything that don't even need to be used. We're using it to create tracking mechanisms for weight loss. So we're not using it for real life stuff. And you can see in the evidence in terms of look at all the new companies that are being formed for AI and the funding they're getting. Most of them are stupid. No, there isn't any there isn't any great innovation with the utilization of AI. We have the law. One of the projects I'm working on in terms of accounting and all that, and there are innovations being looked at, but it's not being shown. And all I'm hearing is agents. Everybody's building agents. I'm saying, so you have a company that's just dedicated with agents. That doesn't make sense because at the end of the day, those agents are interacting with humans, and the humans are volatile. So how do you deal with the volatility of a human being? The agents will break down. And that you can automate and do all that, but believe me, it's you're dealing with a human a human system, and a human system is always volatile. The saying that what's the saying, the chaos theory, this is what it is, chaos theory. And you're trying to put an automated system with chaos in there, and it doesn't know how to adapt, except you put a RAG system in there. And a RAG is just a bona fide database that you have to then look at systems and the data to update. So a human has to go in and say, okay, hey, we have to update the simulations and regulations. Then we have to then look at the data, then update the database. Vector, it doesn't make sense. So you're still dealing with an adaptive system.
No, I agree with that. Let me knock these couple of these slides out real quick. But now I'm with you on the rack system. So in the real world, like my man engineering cannabis, we do GRC, so we got policies and government identifying your emerging risks and build your regulations. Regulations are already out there, right? Especially if you're in your GRC security. Shout out to Chris. We got to build our AI risk register, map to controls. Everybody know I'm NIST and FedRAMP. Your AI development, identifying risks during design, improve model safety, research and education, finding gaps in AI risk coverage. Like you said, engineering cannabis, I think people are trying to figure out how to put governance and some security around it first, really, but even before the innovations, because like we talked about a lot of times, you just give people a data swamp and they got data they shouldn't have, seeing SSNs, seeing medical records. I don't think we have the full control around
We
the
don't,
data we need before we start training.
yeah, we don't even understand the systems. Because I'll go to a company and ask, okay, what are the effects of your profit on how your profit is? How do you affect, what affects your profit margin? And they bring out a P&L statement. I'm like, no, you have external, and there's a lot of variables, but most companies don't know that. So how do you then design an agent when you don't even know who your process or your data or how it affects anything? So that's the thing. Most people are just innovating for innovating's sake, but without that proper baseline, without the proper understanding of what your process is, or how your system moves, or what affects, or how do you quantify your system. If you really don't understand it, then implementing an AI system is a waste of time. Because at the end of the day, you can't track chaos. If you can't even track what's going on and how to mitigate the chaos that might come in, then you're just innovating for innovative sake. And most of the time it's gonna break down. Like most if you look at most AI systems, they stated that 90% of it failed.
Yeah.
And the reason they fail is because they truly don't understand the environment to initiate an AI system. So this all this innovation is going fast, but nobody's pausing and saying, do you really need to innovate systems that you don't even understand? Don't you need to understand your system before you innovate it? Don't you need a baseline of your system? Then understand where those innovations might come in. But nowadays, everybody's innovating. Hey, Rax agent is coming in. Let's implement an agent. What does the agent do?
Hold on, real quick. You see this? We see this statement. My man Jose said the real innovation is not being shown yet. He said we're being shown crumbs. So you think there's real innovation the big companies are hiding from us?
Yes, yes, there is, but
Okay.
it's for the minute 10%, the people that really understand their systems. So it's not it's the people that really understand, okay, a meta, or these are the people that invested a lot of money to understand what
Facts.
affects
Facts.
the system. Human beings, all that. They have researchers to quantify everything. But now you have the remaining 90%, they don't know stuff about their system. So how do you go from a company that they've dedicated millions of dollars to understand their systems, understand their people, their customers, understand every aspect of it, and are able to quantify it, to 90% who don't even know where, they only understand P&L statement. They
Right.
don't understand what external factors affect their business or anything at the end of the day. So innovation, everybody's throwing innovation, but they don't understand that innovation. And I'm looking and I'm like, this is wild. There isn't anybody thinking anymore. It's let's just put an automated system in place. Nobody's asking to do what. What if it fails? If it fails, what kind of adverse risk does it cause if it fails? If you have 2,400 agents going on, if 50 of it fails, what adverse risk does it give you? Not to the company, but to the individual. So all this automation is cool, but do you understand the baseline of all this automation? And
Right.
most of the time, none of them do. And it's funny, but it's just right now everybody's innovating for innovating's sake.
Right.
Nobody's
Yeah.
innovating to say I'm innovating this company because I believe this is gonna happen, and these are the adverse risks. If you notice, everybody's just throwing agents, but nobody's asked what does the agent do? What's the adverse risk to these agents? If 400 of those will fail, is it going to be in a cascading effect? If 400 or 100 agents fail, is it going to be a cascading effect where the remaining fail?
Yeah, but
Everybody's just talking about innovation, but
yeah,
truly not understanding what innovation means. And
everybody's
right
jumping
now,
on the bandwagon.
yeah,
Everybody's
everybody's
jumping on
jumping.
the bandwagon.
I remember I was the one talking about AI and data a long time before all this hype
No.
became.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, people still don't understand that. And the hype is hype. At the end of the day, is the true people who innovate, the people who innovate are innovating in a silo, and then they bring it out and they utilize it well. Imagine, imagine right now you have this Iran war going on. Imagine if it's ran by bots or by agents. It doesn't make sense because a war is so volatile and so chaotic. How can you have bots and agents running a war? It doesn't make sense. But this is what it is coming to. Trying to trying to bottle chaos. That's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to bottle chaos. Trying to put chaos in a box and using AI as the box. Like, okay, we can control it with AI automated. But this is chaos. You can't bottle chaos. You can understand chaos, try to understand it, but you can never bottle chaos. And that's what we're trying to do with AI. We're trying to bottle it. And I'm the guy who creates algorithms. So I'm the guy who can write algorithms, deep learning. I can tell you anything about AI and everything because I learned it inside and out. But at the same time, I'm learning inside and out. I'm also telling people that you are trying to basically box chaos with AI. And AI has not reached the level of that adaptation where it can adapt and see what's going on. And okay, hey, this is going on. What it has to ask that question. What do I do next? This is unknown. This is an unknown variable I've never seen. What do I do next? A human has to come in and assess it and say, this is what you do next. And update it with a RAG or a system, all of that. That's what we're trying to do right now. It's always going to try to update because our environment is chaotic and ever changing. So we are always going to try to update AI. There is as long as we change, AI will always going to need someone to basically boot it up and try to make sure it's working properly. So AI is not truly automated because our world is not truly automated. And that's what nobody's looking at and understanding what AI is. So it's funny. Everybody wants to innovate, but nobody truly understands what AI really innovation is.
No, they
And
struggling. Let me read these couple slides real quick. Let's see. Relation to your NIST AI RMF. Once again, the MIT risk repos, the risk library. The RMF is going to have your risk management framework. The MIT is going to have your taxonomy. Your RMF is going to have your governance process. MIT AI risk has your identification. The RMF is going to have your mitigation. So That's how you work those two AI governance once again, the MIT and the oversight. And if you see here, this is kind of AWS's proof of concept for AI risk monitoring. And shout out to Chris. He wants me to start labbing this, which I will. Shout out to Chris. Then in there, you see they have their risk scoring engine. Bedrock is AWS version to kind of wrap it around there. Like Engineering Cannabis, AWS kind of gives you some training wheels to get started on. And at the bottom, you see security, privacy, bias, and their hallucinations. They have their Bedrock SageMaker Evaluator to
You
kind of
see that?
help you do that.
You
Go
see,
ahead and chime in
you
there.
see the risk scoring engine.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the database. They again,
Yep.
what I tell you is they use that to always reevaluate the system. It's and you see as you look at it, it's circular. It goes from the lambda Macy back
Mm-hmm.
to risk scoring, goes back. You see that circular. It's always, and a human is always going to have to basically go in there and update that. So it's funny, but it's this is what AI is. AI will always have a human as long as as long as we change, as long as we evolve. AI, unless unless AI again in terms of reinforcement learning, but reinforcement learning still learns from the environment we provided. So as our environment changes, AI has to learn from the environment. And yes, we might update the sensors and all that, but still we're feeding it data. We're feeding it what we do. And we have not fully understood how our environment works. We don't even understand how we function properly. How our brain function. We don't even know that. But yet we believe the AI can do what humans can do. We don't even know what we can do. We just know we've not even understood how our brain works properly. So there's a lot of hype in AI. And I think AI right now is the hype is just too much. I believe we need to go back to what the impact AI can make and how can we increase our knowledge with AI. Not trying to put everybody's not talking of agents, man. That word is annoying. Agents here. I'm like, no, you don't need to put agents in everything. It doesn't make sense. Again, you do so much agents, you if it breaks down, what happens? How does the agent adapt to every situation, everything that's going on? So again, I don't see much innovations going on. I see a lot of hype, and we need to go back to where innovation is key, where we use these tools to innovate medical applications, where we use it to to innovate education, innovate medicine, innovate flight, innovate science, innovate everything, innovate how logistics work. We here finding we still the funny thing we have so much AI systems yet we can't figure out how to deal with the Iran problem with logistics. Yeah, have you noticed that a whole sector is basically delaying energy sector? One whole Strait of Hormuz is basically dictating how energy is basically doing, and we have so much innovation in AI, we can't figure that out. So this is telling us that we as humans, the application of AI is just being utilized for not huge innovations, but more of just everyday stuff that I don't see it. We just need to go back to the basics and understand and apply how AI is being utilized. And that's
That's
it.
you see that question right there? Any thoughts impact of AI on the metaverse technology? Looks like the metaverse is dead. You got anything
The
on that?
metaverse isn't, again, these are technologies they're not showing you. The metaverse isn't there. The metaverse is actually utilized to train AI systems. So if you want to train an AI system quick, fast, and quick and fast. And you want, for instance, if I want to train an AI system to understand a disaster area, I can load an AI algorithm within, and build that whole disaster area into the metaverse and teach my AI algorithm how to navigate that. The problem is the metaverse, it was rolled out too quickly. The metaverse was supposed to be a more detailed aspect of it, a more solution oriented. But it was rolled out for everybody. But the metaverse is not for everybody. The metaverse is meant for a solution oriented system. And that's what is being done right now. So the metaverse is not being rolled out for everybody and everything. What I think they're going to have to go back to is now saying, what can the metaverse be used for? And we need to design a solution like this Strait of Hormuz. Can we design a whole in the metaverse, the whole logistic system around this Strait of Hormuz in the metaverse, and find out solutions to actually improve that logistics in that place using the metaverse without impacting the real world, and see how that works. Utilize the metaverse. That's a solution oriented system. So it's not rolled out for everybody, it's rolled out for a specific problem. So that's what the metaverse will be. It's not for everybody to use and as a toy, but it's going to be utilized for a specific function that you might not even be privy to. But that's what the metaverse will be utilized for. It's not going to be utilized for everybody to go in metaverse and jump in, and basically everybody's going to be in metaverse having different kind. No, it's going to be used for a specific solution, a specific problem, and that problem is going to be huge, where it's going to be more, more beneficial rather than everybody being. So that's what's going to happen. The metaverse will exist, but it'll be existing in a high level, high solution, high problematic areas, and you might not be privy to utilize it.
Let me knock out a couple of these slides real quick. We were looking at that's the AWS version of their AI risk monitoring. So just going to rip through the kind of how they set it up. From their high level, they're going to build a pipeline that you can collect AI interaction data, detect risk signals across multiple domains. Because a lot of times when you get new data, you start getting drift in your model. So you want to make sure your model don't get out of sync too much. So you can score it, classify your risk events, alert and let people know. Feed your governance and compliance dashboards as part, once again, your app, your AI risk telemetry, risk classification. All right, we're trying to automate that.
See, that's another thing. We're trying to classify risk based on real world events. You can't do all that.
No,
Risk might come in that you might not even know. So
facts.
that's what I'm saying. We're trying to control chaos, and that's not possible. But hey,
Hey, we trying though.
we're trying. But
but let's. I think of it like this though, because I do risk. So we know there's some risk we quantify, but like you said, we can't quantify all the risks. We got
look,
to do
let me
the
even
best
give
we can do. Right? Go
let
ahead.
me
Go ahead.
let me give you an example. Look at, and I'm going to use what's going current. Look at what's going on in Cuba. Nobody would have noticed. Nobody would have thought of basically a war in that side will go give a cascading effect where Cuba's, because of now there's no power going in Cuba. They're drowning.
Facts.
That's chaos. Did you anybody know it? How many AI bots do you think would have thought of that? None of it. If they had thought of it, they would have put preventive measures in there. But nobody thought of that.
Facts.
Nobody thought of regulatory actions on will be lifted from Russia based on actions on from an Iranian war. Nobody knew that. All these are chaos. These are example of
Facts.
things we cannot utilize AI to predict, to understand, because this is a human form. This is a human system, and the human system is always changing. And that's why they created rags. That's why It's because we can't. Nobody can ever predict what's going to happen. Nobody's going to tell you cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is going to fall this much. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew um, accidents. Nobody understands how things work. So what we're trying to do is again boxing chaos, but we can't. We can try, but we can see it's not working. We can create all the agents we want, but at the end of the day, the interaction with a human system will always exist. And if that human system and that agent doesn't follow up with trends or doesn't follow up with what's going on, the agent becomes useless. So at this point, you're always going to have to be updating the agent. That's where governance comes in. So who you're always going to so the system improves, but you as a human will be the symphony. So imagine an agent. The agent is just a orchestra. You are the guy who's basically controlling all the orchestra, telling what the agents should do. It's still a human system at the end of the day. It's still being controlled by a human. Still updating the database, still monitoring it. You even saw it right now. They're doing risk classifying. You classifying
Mm-hmm.
risk. So it's still not an automated system. So the hype of automation is BS right now. We cannot fully automate any system because we don't fully understand the system. Truly, we do not understand our system. And since we do not understand, we will always react. And as we react, we try to think we're automating, but we're not. We're just reacting. And that's what I'm seeing. It's funny. Everybody's saying, "Oh, we got AI is working perfectly." I promise you, in the next 2, 3 years, all those companies who deployed agents in there, I promise you, they'll go back and they will go back and say, "Okay, these agents are not working. They're not keeping up with trends. They're not keeping up with systems. They're always breaking down. They don't know what they're doing. We need a way to basically deal with all this." Even Claude code, you can code all the with the Claude you want, but I promise you, the code might not even keep up with new technologies. It's what it is. Humans are we are innovative in nature, and we always take in we adapt to our environment, and we follow the adaptation, and we innovate based on what we need. These AI agents are not adaptive, and they cannot innovate. They can just watch and ask questions and reference the database for the answers. That's it. We look at our environment, see what the problem is, and innovate based on that. AI agents, AI systems, they look, they look at their database systems and see if there's an answer. If there's not an answer, they hallucinate or they give you wrong answers. Then we go back and feed them the right answers. That's what's going on in the simplest form right
Yeah, that's true. Let me knock these couple slides out. Like you were talking about the risk, we trying to do bias and discrimination monitoring. Score output for harmful or discrimination language or uneven treatment. These are AWS services for that. Comprehend the sentiment entity analysis. SageMaker custom bias detection. Bedrock evaluator model for review. SageMaker clarify fairness and bias analysis from ML models. And we talked about this years ago a lot of times. How do you know if the model's biased if nobody ever puts their bias scores out there? Do we need to put that on the
now.
blockchain to
Yeah, I
look at
told
it?
you all this.
We don't.
This
We don't.
all this
Yeah, we talked about that
five,
5
six
years ago.
years
Go
ago,
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
talked about all this. That
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nobody will ever tell you all this stuff. They're all talking about this stuff. I
Facts.
talked about this 5, 6, 7 years ago. I delved on
Yeah.
all these topics. That all these people, yeah, they're not. All this is trash. They're not going to tell you what truly happens with the algorithm. Facebook is not going to tell you algorithms X. They, till today, Elon Musk says he was going to release the algorithm. Till today, that algorithm has not been released.
Facts. Facts.
So nobody's told you. Nobody's giving you an SOP. And at the end of the day, we moved on, and we still use the platform. This is what's going on. Algorithms are just ways to checks and balances on humans, on trying to give you what support some of your biases and all that. But at the end of the day, these again are algorithms that are a feedback loop from your own information. An algorithm is
Mhm.
just a feedback loop from your information. They take your information and show it your information and show it as a mirror to you. Again, it's a feedback loop. They take your information, look at your information, make decisions on your information, then feed it back to you. It's a feedback loop. And this is what's
No, that's
going
true.
on. And I keep it's funny, but if you notice, most people who talk about AI in especially YouTube, they don't understand what AI is. I truly understand it. But when people talk, I cringe because they really do not really understand what AI is possible and what it can do and the, the possibilities of it, what it can do. But what not right now, it's when everybody's talking about it, it becomes to me it becomes useless because everybody now is AI expert. Everybody, everybody's an AI expert in business, and I'm like, no, y'all don't know what the hell y'all doing. This is this is a tool that's powerful, but you don't understand how powerful that tool is, and you don't understand where to utilize it. And you don't right now. Everybody's jumping into. I've seen videos like people calling themselves experts, and they say they can revolutionize business. I'm like, did you ask questions about around their data, the baseline, understand? And everybody's like, we're gonna just bring your business and we're gonna throw some agents in there. I'm like, don't do that. Don't ever do that. Because at the end of the day, it's at the end of the day it becomes a money grab. Because again, I can build some agents for you, but I know at the end of the day, in 2 weeks that agent will fail. So you have to come to me to update that agent every time. So at that point, I put you in a subscription, man. Hey, you have to pay me $1,000 every month so I can come in and update your agents because again, agents is interacting in real world. It has to be updated with new data and new systems. So it's a system it's meant to fail because it's the interaction is always going to be a human interaction. It's never going to be automated. Anybody who tells you AI is going to be automated don't they don't truly understand AI.
Let me hit these couple of slides. But like we was just talking about, you was talking about misinformation and hallucination monitoring. Like I said, check where outputs are unsupported, unverified, or contradictory approval knowledge. And like you said, Amazon version is the knowledge base, which you were just talking about, your RAG source
Hmm.
index. Your Lambda compares your retrieve
Hmm.
source. They have their open source, which is their semantic vector database. Or once again, SageMaker or Bedrocks gives you a hallucination
Hmm.
scoring model. But like you said, to get the hallucination scoring, you gotta have a base model to figure out when when it's how many deviations
All,
off of that, so you
all,
know it's
and I
hallucinating.
promise you, every single one of these are being checked by a human. It's not being, it's not being left to automated system. They're being checked by a human. Why do you think there's a scoring? The scoring is not because they just want to score it. The scoring is made to monitor the system to know where something is wrong and where to make those changes. The scoring is not just to automate this. The scoring is to hear the human and say, okay, this is scoring quite low. We need to figure out what variables are changing, what data is being changed, if the system is even truly working properly. The scoring is not meant for the AI. It's meant for the human to know, oh, this problem, this agent is messing up, or this system is messing up. We need to know where it's messing up and figure out how to change it. That's why the scoring exists.
No, true. Once again, like you said, they're trying to malicious use monitoring. Once again, detect fraud, phishing, cyber abuse. Once again, they have their rules engines. Amazon has their fraud detector. If you're doing credit card type stuff. They have their security hub for their security stuff. Then their guard duty for correlated cloud threat signals. Because really, this is before the data actually gets trained, right? People are trying to attack it, people are trying to poison it. People have too much access to the data. So once again, you want to make sure you have least privileges and right to know on certain data swamps and different things like that. I appreciate you, GMR. Go get some lunch. So let's see. Safety and failure monitoring, detect abnormal model behavior, drift, outages, degraded response, cloud-wide metrics and alarm, SaveMaker model monitoring, X-rays. They have health
So you know
dashboards.
what?
Route
You know
50.
why I don't like
Go ahead.
this? Because they say detect abnormal model behavior based on what? Abnormal model behavior. You can't. So if, for instance, if AWS is used in crypto industry, the health industry, what defines abnormal behavior? So that that whole system is huge because what in the health sector was defined as abnormal is not was in the crypto. It's normal. But now, what data sets? What data defines abnormal, and does that data change? Because abnormal might change based on year to year. Abnormality might change. For instance, in the health sector, we had COVID. That wasn't abnormal, but now we have some. Next year might be something else. So how do you detect abnormality in there? And are we using? Is the right models being utilized in that abnormality? Are we tracking the right variables? Are we understanding the right data sets? Are we understanding the right baseline? Are we just throwing stuff on the wall to stick? So these are the questions I always ask. And ask the question, what do you define as abnormal? And is it, again, I believe abnormality is going to have to be, it's going to be unique. And it's going to be unique based on not only your industry, but your business model and everything. Abnormality is not just going to be somebody just throwing one model out. It's going to be a unique system based on your industry, your business model, your systems, what affects it. That's what abnormality is going to be. So I always, when people start throwing all this, I always ask questions. Are these truly insightful, or are these just throwing models in there?
No, I'm good. But this slide, I think they're trying to put some things around it. But like you said, is creating a unified AI risk score, severity, how harmful it could be, confidence, how sure are we that this is risky, impact domain, security, legal, privacy, exposure, internal only, or is it public facing and customer facing, sensitivity, regulated or sensitive data involved, reoccurrence, isolated repeated pattern. Their example formula that is risk score is severity times confidence times exposure times data sensitivity. And for those that they're using Lambda, SageMaker endpoint to learn this risk score. DynamoDB was just as a database and for
So,
deeper relationship. Go ahead and chime in on that.
so this is why I always say there's always going to be a human involved. It's never going to be automated. So they come up and say, hey, this is your risk score based on severity, confidence, exposure, data sensitivity. How does that apply to your system? Who decides all this? Who decides what data sets that basically defines all this? So all this is great. It's nice. But at the end of the day, it's a human that's going to make this decision. And it's not going to be constant. It's going to change because the severity might change today. Next year, another severity. Confidence. All this changes. And we're going to update this and we're going to do this. This is why I said it's funny when everybody mentioned automation. When you truly don't understand what's affecting and baseline systems, all that, when you just understand, I'm just going to put automation, but truly don't understand what it means, it doesn't make sense. But hey, I've done this so much it annoys me when I see all this.
No, I'm with you. Once again, governance in their workflow, like they said, it's going to be automated response when risk event is detected. create a finding, notify the security GRC, preserve the evidence. But like you said right here, humans got to say what's the sensitivity of the data, what's your confidence in the data, what's in the risk. Some humans got to come up with that before you can even automate it. And like you said, that could change.
So my question, if the risk today is 7.5 out of 10, if the risk today is 5 and tomorrow is 7, what happened? What changed? Is it gonna everybody? This is why I hate this. It's trying to make it simple and linear, but it's
Mhm.
not. It's not. So we're trying to classify a risk, but the risk will change based on situation and environmental systems, and based on what you're dealing with. It's never linear, especially if we're dealing with a human system. So unless you're not dealing with a human system, and probably you're just dealing with a HVAC system, and you put a rig system in there, that cool, this works. But if you're dealing with a human system in a hospital, in anything where humans involved, this risk system doesn't work. But if you're dealing with a risk system where HVAC is going to break down in the house, and even that is still risky because they might be using hot water and they might not be even flushing the system out. So again, as long as a human system is involved, it's risky. But if you say there's no human involved, it's just a system and nobody's changing anything, it's just running. This might work. But 90% of the time or 95% of the time, there's always a human involvement in there. And that introduces chaos. And that basically overrides most risk systems I've seen.
Let
And
me
that's what I've been seeing.
let me run you through these last couple slides. There, AWS wants you to store the evidence because theoretically you're going to be getting assessment, HIPAA, high trust. I do a lot of federal, so somebody's going to come and look at your assessment of your risk. So that's where they want you to save it. Uh, you can design some dashboards for executives. Uh, Top AI risk domain for the months, high risk incidents, model risk trends over time, public facing versus compliance exceptions. We know executives want to see dashboards, so that was it. Once again, the analyst dashboards, prompt injection, PI leakage finding, hallucination rate by model. So these are some of the things. Once again,
Everybody wants to see a dashboard,
yeah,
man.
everybody's dashboarding
But I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can create all the dashboards you want, but does it give you insights? That's the
it.
question.
No,
I,
it's just
that's, I would say you all like flashy stuff, man, but does it really give you insight into this?
hey, it don't matter, man. As long as the executives can see the dashboard, they don't have to have value. No, I'm just
That's the
playing.
question. I, I've seen places where the executives are ooh ah. I'm like, what are y'all oohing and ahhing for?
It looks
Does
good.
this
Look,
really give you insight, or you just oohing and ahhing because you saw a graph going up and you saw green or red and ooh no?
no, that's it.
The question you need to ask is, does it give you insight? What is it telling me? What are these dashboard telling me? Is it telling me I'm going to be profitable in the next 2 months? Does it tell me where the risk and how to detect the risk? Does it tell me what I really need to know, or am I just presenting a flashy dashboard that Tableau and Power BI and everybody's oohing and eyeing? I'm like, good luck with that.
Yeah, it is. And from there, from the risk mind architecture, once again, they want you to collect AI interactions, classify risks into a structured taxonomy, respond automatically when risk thresholds are hit, prove governance with dashboards and audit evidence. But like engineer, what are you proving, right? Or
See,
can you validate it, right?
yeah,
To really drill down and to
all,
to to is the dashboard really saying what it's supposed to
listen,
be saying? Go
all
ahead,
this
go ahead.
stuff is called. They're just looking for an anomaly detection. They want to
Fact.
see anomalies that come out. But the question is, can they detect it? If you don't even understand your baseline, how do you know what anomalies exist? How do you, these are questions. Everybody's like, oh, we can do this. I'm like, do you know if your system is actually balanced? Or do you know how chaotic your system is? Do you know questions nobody really wants to answer? And everybody's oohing and ahhing on the dashboard. So I'm like, so a dashboard that shows this is what's impressing. Oh, we got a problem. And that's the problem. Everybody wants dashboards, but nobody wants to understand what the real insights this dashboard should give you. And nobody's asking the question, you showed me a dashboard. Okay, it's cute, but what does it mean? What if I say 7 o'clock in the morning, something happened? Can this dashboard tell me and pinpoint what happened and where the problem is, an anomaly detection? Can it spit out the answer for me and tell me if I don't change it, what might happen in the next 3 months if this is not dealt with? This is what a dashboard and system should be. But right now, everybody's just, again, with a shiny object, but not asking the question, what am I looking at? Mm.
No, I think that's true. Once all the big companies gonna give you things they think can help you, right? Bias hallucinations, like you said, dashboards. If you got drift, but to know you got drift, you got to have your baseline, right? So,
But yeah, but most people, most 90% of companies don't understand their baseline.
oh, I know.
They have the baseline, but they ask the question, what affects that baseline? What are the variables that affect that on a Tuesday your profit margin moved up? Why? What are the external factors and internal factors that made that baseline move up? Can you explain that to me with a dashboard? But people don't understand that baseline. They understand this was working, something changed. I don't know what might change, but it changed, showed on the dashboard. That's it. But no true insight into it. And this is what AI can't give you. That insight, that asking that question, why? AI give you all the, oh, this happens, but real insight into what this is wrong and all that. AI can't give you that. It it can adapt to situations and all that. So the hype is again. I'm the one who talked about AI before AI became this hype, and now it's just gone mainstream, and everybody is an AI expert. Everybody got an AI course, and everybody don't know what
Oh
AI
no,
does. And
that's
I'm
so.
laughing like, no, you don't know what that is, and anybody who's teaching you AI probably don't know what AI means. But hey, and that's why I said I will never ever try to teach a course because if I teach it, no, I get angry. So no, I won't teach somebody who just AIs. I want to learn agents. No, agent will fail. The question is, when it fails, what are you going to do about it? Do you have the necessary insights to know where it failed, why it failed, and what to do?
No, like you said, it's just super hype, and if this was cloud, this was there's always been hype in tech. This is just a new hype. So,
This is a new hype, a new cycle.
so,
I've been here for a while, so I'm going to enjoy the hype. But it's
so
funny. but,
no,
but I think this hype now it's lasted a long time. It's lasting. This hype is the seasonal. For instance, the blockchain hype when it came left. AI hype is here now. How long is this going to be an integrated system within our system, or is this going to be a seasonal hype where okay, next 3 4 years we go into something else, robotics. But AI is here to stay. This is here to stay. But we just need to figure out how to innovate it better and how to make sure because right now everybody wants to use it, but nobody truly understands.
yeah,
So we need to teach that true understanding, then go through the innovation part. But
I,
right now, there's no innovation. It's
I,
just hype.
I don't think people really want to dig that deep to really understand what you need to really do AI. And they're gonna do a service. Put your questions, cybersecurity tech or AI in the chat bot. We just I mean in the chat. I call it chat. In the chat, we kind of winding on down. I definitely want to appreciate my man, Engineering Cannabis. He changes his name every damn month. Who are you today?
And I'm everybody nowadays.
It's
I'm
all good.
doing everything, so it's fun. Everything's just
It's all good.
it's good. But yeah, I'm just again, this AI hype will die down, and something come up again, cybersecurity, all that come up again.
Yeah.
Again, it comes and goes. But
Well, I don't know, man. I think because they spilling billions of dollars on data centers, man. I think it's gonna be here for a while, man.
it's gonna be here for a while. But the question is, are we gonna innovate this? Because yeah, data centers popping everything, but the use cases, are the use cases really beneficial?
Nah, but we were trying to put the internet on the refrigerator, man. So I think we just going through that kind of
Are
scenario.
the use cases are the use cases beneficial? Because right now the use cases I'm seeing are not. Everybody's innovating to let go of employees.
Yeah,
Nobody's innovating to say we are trying to get this industry into the next phase. We're trying to get healthcare into where healthcare can be. Basically, we're working with machines and humans at the same time, and we have our healthcare is now better. We're seeing people living longer. We're detecting diseases quicker. We're innovating medical innovations and finding solutions quicker. We're detecting vaccines and creating vaccines safer. We're doing all this. But that's the problem. We are not, that's not what's going on. Right now, what's going on is we're innovating for profit, not innovating for innovation. And that's not where this tool should be. This tool should be innovation for innovative purposes. It should be done to innovate healthcare, poverty, food, agriculture. This is what it is. But right now, I'm seeing innovation. We're innovating drones, not to not to say, hey, let's utilize drones for real purposes. Let's look at it for disaster relief. Let's do drones for different areas. But now we're using drones for people just using drones to detect and see, capture images for real estate.
that's true. Let me hit this quick slide real quick. If you look on the screen, this is the MIT actually AI risk where they have their 1700 um, risk on there. You see bias. The training data set LLMs may contain bias information. So that's where their 1700 risk are. If you just do MIT AI risk repository, these are the things we can put into our risk register to make sure we walking through and making sure these are risk we're taking care of in our organization. A lot of it's, I think, pretty standard. Once again, toxicity and bias. Um, theoretically, they need to be checking their data, checking their domains, checking their features to make sure they're not biases and running them against different demographics to see what the skew is on those organizations, right? So
See
that,
that, and that's again, see that description. It doesn't change with the environment. So the
yeah.
toxicity change and all that. So it changes, but are we just basing it on one certain population, or is it based on different population, different geography? See,
Hmm.
all that is not being targeted here. This is just a if you have it and your training data is based on this, but is there true solutions to all this? How do we mitigate this? How do we mitigate this from not happening? So yeah, I'm the AI geek. I love AI. I see the problems. I see the solutions, and I see the potential. But right now, nobody's talking about that. More people are more talking about agents, but not the potential and the ability of all this to basically be huge. But right now, it's company. All we see in the news is AI is taking jobs. AI is cutting this. Companies are removing employees and replacing with AI. Nobody in the news you've not seen the application of AI in the area of this has improved this, has improved farming. There's no more. You can see when there's a place with farming, this has been improved. You've not seen that, and I'm just all this is just great, but it's not. It's this is just like a pin. The pin will change, but how do you then? How do you basically follow that change and mitigate as it changes? Because toxicity and bias will change
Oh
because
yeah.
the environment will change, toxicity will change. So how do you mitigate when that change happens? Is it always that data collection process? Is it the environment? What do you do when that whole system changes?
And like you too, when you can be good now and get new data that can skew it too. So like
Skew
you
it.
said, so how
So
do you know?
how do you know? How do you tackle it? How do you understand it? Do you have, even though you understand the whole system perfectly, but again, as humans, we change. If the environment change, do you have to go back to square one and try to understand the whole thing? Do you need to understand what that change? If that change, that little change, that 5% change, is it a cascading change that over time will basically change the whole system? Change is, how do you understand change? And that's the big question. How do we understand change? Is again, how do we deal with change? And we can't. We just, again, we react to change, but we do not control it. We just react to it. And that's why there was a problem in the banking sector when algorithms stopped giving loans to a sector of people that might be falling below the poverty line because the GDP growth is not working. The unemployment rate for that group is down, but yet the loans are going to have to go down because GDP growth. We see, you see what I'm saying? If, for instance, the black people, based on, we've seen a higher unemployment rate for black people, is the algorithm going to have to change its policy to give loans? Because now the unemployment rate has increased to 7 to 8%. Does the algorithm now go back and say, hey, unemployment rate has increased 7 to 8% of black people. We can't give them loans. How do you tackle that?
No, like you said, half the time you won't even know because those algorithms ain't really on the blockchain. So you
How do
probably
you, and
won't even know.
nobody has asked that question. Unemployment, everybody shouting black women, and this the unemployment has increased. What in with those increases, what algorithms have changed and what decisions have been changed and affected by just that GDP growth or by the unemployment rate rising for black men and black women? What algorithms are being affected by just that information? Just that information, and nobody has asked that question. Just those two information. Unemployment rate has increased by 7% for black men and women. What algorithms are affected? Bank loans, business loans. What loans have changed in the banking sector? What financial what financial algorithms have changed in that sector? See,
No,
these are
that's
the
a good point.
things we need to understand, that it's a cause and effect. You see the data being updated. They're updating this data and telling you this is what's going on. So what does that mean? That data doesn't exist just because it's out there. The data exists for a reason. And what effects does that data have for everybody else?
No, that's a good point. Put your questions, cybersecurity in the chat. Shout out to my man Ty for joining me. No, that's actually a good question. I mean, like you said, we talked about that 4 or 5 years ago, trying to put some miles on the blockchain so you can kind of figure out what's going to happen
Well,
when
you,
stuff skew.
when banks are now going algorithms. Banks are throwing AI algorithms everywhere. Banks are putting algorithms on risk, on your risk in terms of loans, giving you house loans, business loans, any loans. Question is, if everybody's telling you black black unemployment rate is increasing by 7%, what does that mean for everybody who's using that same data set to update their algorithm? Nobody's asking that question. Everybody's just going, oh, it's the hype in YouTube is, oh, this is it. But people who truly understand algorithms and data, this question is, that's a data point. What does that mean to banks and everybody else using that data point? Does that data point track into a sector that's mostly black? And the question is, If that says unemployment rate, are they tracking that? If you're living in a black community, an African American community, or a minority community, and they tell you 7% of unemployment rate, are the banks tracking that metric in there? And if they're tracking, how is it affecting you?
No, that's a good question.
Well, hey, everybody's just quiet. I'm like, do you really understand how AI works?
I think
It's a
people miss it.
feedback.
It's a feedback. Go on, put your last statement on that, engineering cannabis. I'm gonna shut it on down. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
put me some dinner, man. I
my
appreciate you coming up, man.
my last statement is stop looking at the hype and start looking what's underneath. If people put out data points in there, question you need to ask is that data point is not in there for just for play. It's not there. There's a reason that data point exists. How does it affect you, your family, and everybody else? How does it affect you from getting a job? How does it get you from getting a loan? How does it affect you from living your daily life? Because they have classified you, like Doctor, like PBO has shown you how they classify risk. They've classified a whole community based on an unemployment rate. Now, what happens when that unemployment rate is now utilized in banks and everybody else? How does that mitigate to you? And that's it.
No, I appreciate you coming up. And two is all the big guys saying we're giving you these drifts, but like you said, what's the baseline to figure out how if you're drifting, right? And like you said, if the data points shift, obviously the model's gonna drift from where it was supposed to be. So do we
So
need
yeah,
to retrain it? Do we need to
that's the thing. Again, I go back to the bank. The bank says utilizes unemployment rate for minorities at seven increased to 7.7%. Are you now more risk? Are you are you at a high risk to get a loan at that point? Because now the unemployment rate is high. Are you at more risk in it, or is there other data points that show that you might not be so risky?
like you see,
So
you gotta know
these
are they adding your zip code in there? So if you're in a
see,
nice
that's what I'm saying.
so
At that point, they're tracking you. They have to track
facts.
that. They track that community and ask the questions. This is how they would track it. They now go to Social Security and ask questions like, how many people in this community are on Social Security, on Medicaid, on food stamps, on this? How are they how are they increasing each month? Are you seeing the increase every month? And does it correlate to the 7% of the unemployment rate? There are variables you can use. I'm going to the data side. I'm telling you how to correlate this stuff. So you use unemployment, social security, all the aids they use, and ask them questions around that area with your zip code. Are they collecting more Medicaid benefits or any benefits more from now to now? Since we've seen an unemployment rate of 7.7, are you seeing a high risk of people or defaulting in loans? They control loans. Are they defaulting loans? Are they missing payments? Are they missing one, two, three payments? You can correlate all this and say, okay, we're seeing this problem and we're seeing you more risky with this. And we're not going to give you loans. We're going to change the algorithm to say, if you're in this area code and we're seeing unemployment, we're seeing more people missing loans, we're not going to give you loans. This is how they use algorithms, Steve. This is how it is. And
No,
nobody's talking about it because we don't truly understand how it works.
no, that's true. Like I said, we've been talking about that for like 5 years.
I've been talking
Stuff
about this
hasn't said.
5 years, telling them you really people don't really know how to use AI. They tell you they know, but they're not showing you the true way to use AI, the true way banks mitigate their risk in loans to utilize AI. And they hide it based on numbers because now numbers can be discriminatory. Numbers is true representation. But we can skew the numbers based on what it is.
No facts.
So
But I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm gonna shut it on down. I'm gonna give me some lunch. I appreciate you, engineering cannabis, for coming on up. and kind of drop some knowledge on it. That was my AWS thing. They're trying to, I guess, put some some services in to help you with risk. But like Engineering Cannabis says, you do need your human in the loop to kind of help you quantify classification, quantify baseline, quantify drift, quantify bias, even, right? So we do need that human in the loop to I guess facilitate that, because like you said, all that is basically chaos. I appreciate you, and everybody have a nice night. Let's get that hump day tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. I'm out of here. Professor Black Ops, thanks for joining. Come and check me out Thursday at Lunch and Learn at 12. We'll be back doing the same thing. Once again, I appreciate everybody for joining me.